Here's the script. Hello all. My husband and I have been arguing about this all day, and I need some outside perspective. My husband picked my daughter, Cindy, up from school, and he saw her speaking to a schoolmate that she had previously had a crush on. For context, last year during a sleepover, my husband and I overheard Cindy's friends lightly teasing her over having a crush on this boy. My husband also gently teased her with some innocent jokes, like Cindy and boy sitting on a tree KISING type of silliness, and he sometimes brings it up randomly to tease her, like asking her if she wants to invite her boyfriend when we go on family outings. She never actually dated him or is even friends with him, as far as we know. Her dad just likes to tease her. Anyway, apparently over the summer, the boy was injured in an accident, and he missed the first couple of weeks of school as a result. When my husband was picking her up, he saw them talking and noticed that the boy had significant scarring on his face and hand. When he asked her what happened to him and what they were talking about, saying that the boy looked disappointed, she explained to him about his accident and that he was just asking her out on a date, but that she turned him down. My husband was furious at her and scolded her for being so shallow as to reject him because his appearance has changed. Cindy was crying when she got home. She told me all this and insisted she was polite when turning him down and was just not interested in him romantically anymore. I told my husband to apologize to my daughter and that he never should have made her feel bad for turning down anyone's romantic advances. I told him that our daughter is old enough to decide who she is attracted to, and it would be cruel of her to have said yes out of pity, thus leading him on. My husband is now saying that he sees me differently and that I should be ashamed for teaching Cindy to be a shallow monster and ableist. He is also angry that I undermined him when he was scolding our daughter and says we should not undermine each other's authority when disciplining our child. I was not doing it to undermine him. I just think it's not healthy to make our daughter feel guilty and shamed for not being interested in someone. I do feel bad for the boy, but I don't think it is anyone's place, neither mine nor my husband's, to tell Cindy she has to date someone or she's a bad person. Am I the jerk? Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, NTA, just because Cindy may or may not have had a crush on this boy last year doesn't mean she always would, especially after not being around him all summer. Your husband made a massive leap in assuming the only reason Cindy isn't interested anymore is the boy's scarring. He didn't talk to her. He jumped on her and pushed an unfortunate narrative that Cindy owed this boy her attention. She does not. You need to point out to your husband that what is ableist is insisting that Cindy date a boy purely because he now has scarring, and she can't turn him down because he deserves it to make up for what happened to him. That's a gross way to look at disability. If he has concerns about Cindy judging only on appearances, he could have had a calm and reasoned conversation with her. He chose not to. That's on him. Another commenter added, and I'm also wondering if his constant teasing contributed to her loss of interest in the guy. My dad did this to me too, and so I tended to drop crushes because it felt like he was shaming me for liking someone. Plus, I knew that if I actually ended up dating said crush, the teasing would only get worse. In the end, I stopped telling my parents about my crushes because I just couldn't deal with the incessant teasing. That shoot hurts your self-esteem. Then another commenter said that he literally said punish her because she made a choice for herself is willed. Should she say yes to anybody no matter what so they don't feel rejected? He's so out of line, I'm gobsmacked. Girls need to learn that they are allowed to say no to anyone for any reason. OMG, I can't. And another added, this, OMFG. Your husband sounds like he, needs help understanding what proper consent is. Shaming her for turning down a boy's romantic advances is, wow. Pathetic much? Crushes fade. It's a normal thing that happens. LOL. Finally, another commenter shared, my dad shamed me for breaking up with my first boyfriend. It was the last straw that made me lose all respect for him. My dad didn't know it at the time because he was the kind of crazy that would attack a kid, but said boyfriend was trying to pressure 14-year-old me into having intercourse. No. Thank you. But of course, I was the dowry for breaking up with him and being friendly with other guys too soon afterward. I don't have a relationship with my dad anymore, and this was just one of many reasons why. Parents never know 100% of the story when it comes to romances, so it's never their place to reprimand a child for relationship decisions. Now for the one-day update. Hi everyone, I got a lot of responses yesterday, and I thought I should update on what happened since I posted. I wanted to address some things first that I saw in the replies. Many comments were either implying or outright saying that if my daughter's reasons for turning down the boy, I'll call him Sam for this post, were primarily because of the change in appearance after his accident, then that would mean my husband was right that she was a shallow monster and I was enabling her. This didn't sit right with me and hurt to hear. But people also pointed out that if the roles were reversed, and it was my daughter whose appearance had changed and was then rejected by a boy, then I would probably be livid at the boy, right? These comments stuck with me and really made me think more deeply about this whole situation. And I'm really glad I was asked these things because it made me realize what lessons I wanted my daughter to get from this situation. I realized that although I would be upset if this happened to my daughter, I would not be upset at someone for rejecting her so long as they treat her with respect and dignity. I would be upset at the unfair situation she was in, but I would never expect some random person to make it their mission to rectify this injustice at the expense of their own autonomy. I would instead comfort my daughter and explain to her that people are like puzzle pieces. Not all of them fit together, and that just because a boy she liked wasn't her puzzle piece does not make her any less valuable or beautiful. And one day she might find someone who does fit well with her. The lesson I wanted my daughter to learn from this was that she was not shallow for rejecting someone romantically, regardless of the reason, even if it was physical. That everyone is owed human decency and respect, but not romantic affection. Denying someone equal respect and dignity because of their appearance would be shallow, but she did not do that. Her romantic affection is not a commodity to be distributed. It belonged to her, and she is not obligated to be fair when it comes to who she wants to share it with. It belonged to her alone and is a privilege she gets to bestow on someone she likes and who treats her well. A lot of the comments really made me realize how important it is for Cindy to feel like her consent matters, because what could start with just going on a date she doesn't want to go on could one day escalate into her being pressured or coerced into dangerous and traumatizing situations or hurtful relationships. Thank you so much to the commenters who shared their stories, which helped me realize how important this way. Some people claimed that I would likely leave my husband if his appearance changed, but sorry to disappoint you guys because I would never do such a thing. I love my husband so much. My relationship with him is stronger than just dating or a crush. We built a life together, and his appearance changing would not change that. We have been married for long enough that my attraction to him and love for him now go far deeper than looks. Maybe it would be a different story if we were just dating and barely knew each other, but things change once you make vows to each other to stick together in sickness or in health. Many people are claiming that my husband is a monster and hurtful. It may seem that way if all you know about him is this one situation, but he is a full human being. He does more for this family every day than I could ever express in one post. He has issues with anger in that he often says things he regrets during, but when he cools off, he is always open to listening and communication. I know now how damaging his teasing of Cindy about Sam was last year, and I will make sure that doesn't happen again. But I assure you all that this is something he has done out of ignorance and not malice. He loves Cindy to bits and would never intentionally do something to harm her. Okay, on to what happened yesterday. Husband woke up and left the house early, so I didn't get a chance to talk to him. When Cindy woke up, I made sure she was okay and told her I wanted to talk to her about what happened the day before. Her friend's mom gave her a ride home, and she got here before my husband did, so we were able to have a heart-to-heart. I told her that she doesn't need to explain to me or anyone why she changed her mind about Sam, and I explained to her all the things I mentioned above. That Sam was going through something very hard and she should be kind to him, but she does not owe him a date if she is not interested in him romantically. That she isn't shallow and should never feel pressured to do something with someone she doesn't want to do, and that her dad was upset and said things he didn't mean. Even so, he still loves her, and so do I. She was starting to cry, so I held her for a while. She told me she was upset more than anything that her dad thinks of her as a bad person. This broke my heart, and so I told her I would talk to Dad about this when he gets home. When my husband got home, I told him we needed to talk about yesterday. He didn't want to at first, but I insisted and told him it was about Cindy's well-being as she was still upset about it and even thinks that her own father thinks she is a bad person. This upset him, and he said, of course, he didn't think that. I basically explained to him my thoughts above, and although he was a bit resistant at first and insisted that he just didn't want Cindy to become a shallow person, he really listened when I explained to him how people might take advantage of her in the future if she starts to feel like her consent and her desires don't matter. I didn't show him the post I made, but I wrote down some of the comments and stories and told them to him. I told him they were stories I found on Reddit from people who experienced something similar. I didn't show him my post because so many comments were unfairly painting him as a monster, and I was worried it would make him defensive. I think it broke through to him because he was really upset at the thought of our daughter one day being manipulated into staying with someone who was hurting her. He went to talk to her privately in her room while I prepared dinner, and afterwards she seemed a lot happier and was joking around with her dad again. Today, they're both planning to go bowling together as well. Thank you everyone for the advice, the stories, and for motivating me to stick to my decision to defend Cindy. You guys are awesome. Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, "Really good job explaining your stance, OP. Every man reading this should take a printout of this for them to refer when they are asked why they said no to dating a single mom, or an overweight woman, or women of a certain ethnicity race." Another commenter shared, "NGL, I had mixed feelings about your post, OP. I saw both sides and reversed the situation as well, and I felt for you. There were many things that you never considered, so I'm really glad you absorbed what this sub was trying to tell you. I did think your husband was TA for his response and words to your daughter, so I'm relieved you two were able to have a conversation to hash it out. That's a great marriage. Yes, he was still mad, but he listened and realized he wasn't righteous." Another commenter expressed concern. "Your husband called your daughter a shallow monster and said that he would never look at her or you the same way again. And he did this for turning down a date with a boy she hadn't seen for months. Your husband needs help. Your daughter probably does too now. Those are the kinds of words that stay with a person forever." Finally, another commenter warned, "Unfortunately, whether you want to recognize it or not, the fact that your husband's immediate response to your daughter turning down a date with a boy was to call her a monster, call her horrible, and tell her that she never wants to see her again is indicative of hurtful behavior. That doesn't mean that your husband is ultimately hurtful, but that he displays some hurtful traits that need to either be worked on now or you need to get out of that house before they turn even more hurtful. No father who genuinely loves and cares about his child would sit there and call her a monster because she turned down a date with a boy. No father who has respect for his child would do that. No father who wants to be involved in his child's life would say that. Your husband needs to get into some serious anger management classes or some therapy to work through whatever it is that causes him to explode and say things that he regrets. Because it's not going to just stop at words. It never does. Am I the idiot for kicking my irresponsible sister out after she repeatedly ignored house rules and disrespected my family? I live in a 3-bedroom apartment with my fiancé. We have a 6-month-old son. My younger sister Mia recently started attending a university that's closer to where I live than both my parents' places. Because she needs to get to class early in the morning, my fiancé and I allowed her to move into our spare bedroom. She's been living with us since January. There's a set of rules I've been having Mia follow since she moved in, mostly to make sure everyone can live peacefully. One of the most important rules concerns arriving after my son's bedtime, usually between 19 years and 20 hours. Mia is allowed to come home however late she wants, as long as she doesn't make too much noise. The door to the apartment has an electronic keypad lock, and the one we use also has a normal lock under it. Everyone has a copy of the key, but we all prefer typing in the password. However, the keypad is very noisy, and my son's nursery isn't far from the door. Every time the keypad is used after I've put the baby to sleep, he wakes up. So naturally, the rule about getting home late includes not using the keypad. Everyone, including Mia, has known about this since day one. At first, we had no problems, but now that Mia has gotten used to college life, she's been going out at night frequently. This past month, she has arrived home after midnight every Friday and Saturday night. She always forgets the "don't make too much noise" rule, and she has, on multiple occasions, used the keypad. My son wakes up crying every damn time. I'd sit her down and remind her of the rule whenever this happened, but she'd continue to do it. My fiancé and I got tired of putting our baby back to sleep because of that, so I changed the password and told Mia she was no longer allowed to use the keypad. She agreed and promised to try to make less noise. On Friday night this week, Mia went out with her friends. She came home very drunk at 4 a.m. and forgot that I'd changed the password. Not only did she use the keypad, she also got the password wrong so many times that she triggered an alarm. I was furious. Not only did my baby wake up crying, but I also got complaints from my neighbors. The next morning, I told Mia that I'm establishing a curfew. While living with me, she needs to be home by 20 years. She won't be allowed to go out at night for the rest of the semester. Mia put up a fight, saying I have no right to ground her like this or dictate what she does with her free time. But I held my ground. I told her she'll be free to do as she pleases when she has her own place and raises her own family. While living with mine, she has to do as I say. She told our parents about this. Our mother and stepfather are both on my side. Our father is on Mia's. He's saying I'm not her mother, and I have no right to treat her like a child. He also thinks it's unfair to do this to her over a drunken mistake. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "NTA, I admit it does sound like a bit of a power trip to ground your adult sister, but it is well within your rights to enforce rules when you are allowing your sister to live there, apparently for free. If she wants full freedom to do whatever she wants, she can always rent her own place. If she's in college, she's definitely old enough to have some responsibility. I replied, she is living here for free, but only for now. The deal is for her to start paying a small portion of rent once she gets a job. Another commenter added, NTA, and you've given her way more chances than I would have. I would tell her that if she wakes the baby up one more time, she's out. I can't imagine how annoyed your husband must be that you keep letting your adult sister act like an entitled 16-year-old. I responded, my fiancé is actually the reason I've been giving her this many chances. A big reason why I'm establishing the curfew now is because the situation has gotten bad enough that even he's sick of it. Now for the update. Before I start this update, I want to recommend reading my comments on my previous post. There were many questions that I was able to answer there. It's very hard to explain my relationship with my younger sister in proper detail, but I will say that while I love her dearly, Mia has always been a very inconsiderate person. I have countless examples. She almost didn't attend our cousin's wedding last year because she didn't want to walk to the venue, which was 2 blocks away from our mom's place. We shared a bathroom when we were younger, and she'd insist on having the top drawers because she didn't want to crouch down, but she was cool with me doing so. She slept through my college graduation and didn't apologize for it. I'm bringing this up now because whenever I asked Mia why she kept forgetting to use her key, her excuse was that looking through her bag took too long and the keypad was quicker. In her head, bothering other people is better than slightly inconveniencing herself. After I established the curfew, Mia tried different ways to make me change my mind. She'd talk about not being able to cancel her tickets for Party X or about the fun her friends had at Party Y. She'd show me her developing LinkedIn profile and tell me she had learned her lesson and would be more responsible. At first, I really didn't want to have to kick her out, which many of you suggested, but I have limits. A few days ago, I heard her complaining to her friends on the phone about her bitch of a sister who wouldn't let her do anything. Later that day, I asked her which of our parents she planned on moving in with. Cue more fighting. I managed to tell her that I had no obligation to continue housing her for free if she couldn't respect my family. Mia could either move back in with our parents or continue living with me for the low price of respecting my infant son and stop complaining about it. We did have a very productive conversation afterwards. I managed to get a lot off my chest, as did my sister. Mia apologized for everything. She admitted she'd been selfish, promised she'd make efforts to change and mature. I'm a strong believer that people can change, which is why I'm not kicking her out right now. But I made it very clear that Mia is on thin ice, and the next time she does anything like this will be the last time she ever sees the inside of my home. The curfew will continue until the end of the semester, as originally planned. My father also agreed to pay for Mia to go back to therapy. It helped her a lot when she was younger. So, I'm hopeful about the future of this living situation. I also want to thank those who suggested a white noise machine. My son is not a light sleeper. The keypad is just very loud and startles him awake, but my fiancé and I are still looking into getting one. Anything that helps our baby sleep better is welcome. Thank you, Reddit. Now for the new update. Okay, you guys called it. A little under a month ago, my fiancé and I kicked Mia out of my apartment. This actually had very little to do with the keypad thing. After my last post, things were relatively peaceful for a while. And then June came, and Mia decided to go back to her old ways. At first, it was just run-of-the-mill entitlement. She started taking my stuff without permission, whining whenever my baby cried, and complaining about having to do everything. Literally, just her own laundry. All of that was more annoying than unbearable, so I just take my stuff back and let her clothes stink. Mia went on a holiday beach trip with her friends. The day after she left, I noticed my diaper bag and one of my son's blankets were missing. Both were expensive gifts my best friend gave me for my baby shower. I checked every room in the apartment and found all of the items that had been in the diaper bag dumped on Mia's bed. She had emptied the bag to use it as extra luggage. The blanket was in a separate pocket, so she took it by mistake. Later, when I got them back, they were both dirty and sandy. I called Mia as soon as I found the items. Her reasoning for taking the diaper bag was that she didn't want to empty her school bag and her computer wouldn't fit anywhere else. She also called me dramatic when I told her to apologize. That's when I kicked her out. I told her that once she got back, she'd have 1 week to grab her things and move back to either of our parents' places. My sister spent the rest of her trip trying to convince me otherwise. She also tried to get my parents on her side. My mom told her she'd brought it on herself. My father did try to convince me to be nice, but I told him I already had been. Mia tried to pick a fight about it when she got back from her trip, but I didn't budge. She moved out officially a couple weeks ago. My mom is making her save money so she can pay me back for the almost 8 months of rent she owes me. To be honest, I'm writing this mostly to vent. Being an older sister is exhausting. The house is always on fire, but you can never be the one freaking out. You're like a second mother, but not an actual parent, so your younger sibling feels no need to respect you. At least that was my experience growing up. My mom is fantastic, but she still acknowledges that I was basically Mia's third parent. My father was a good dad, but a mediocre parent, and he refuses to understand that. He also doesn't accept that after the divorce, I was more responsible for Mia than he was. I love my sister dearly, but she's always treated me as an afterthought. For a few years, she'd contact me almost exclusively when she needed a ride. I'd spend a lot of money on presents. She'd give me a $2 gift 2 months after my actual birthday. This happened 3 separate times, including this year. The list goes on. It always felt like I was the last thing on her mind. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I was always there for her. I will always love my sister, and I do believe she loves me too. But I also understand she's too selfish to realize she treats me poorly. I have to focus on my son, and I can't put up with Mia's immaturity right now. Do I regret letting her move in with me? No. Do I regret not kicking her out back in May? Also no. To be honest, I think I needed that. Knowing I tried has always helped me sleep at night. Plus, living with Mia wasn't all bad. Accompanying the Drake-Kendrick Lamar feud with her was pretty fun. At first, at least. My sister and I are on speaking terms. She was pissed at first, but got over it once she realized that literally no one was really taking her side. She's back to transitioning between our parents' places every week. I don't miss that lifestyle. Mia hates it, as it takes her longer to get to her classes every morning. She's apologized, but I'm not letting her move back in with me. My son's turning 1 in a couple of weeks. Mia is invited to his birthday party, but I'm not expecting her to show up. My fiancé and I are getting married in a little under a year, and she's invited to that too. I hope my sister can learn to be more considerate and that we can improve our relationship someday. But I'm done being the only one putting in the effort. Now for a few comments. Put in Tamaname said, "You did the right thing. Your sister should get over it. If not, she's probably a royal pain herself." Hung White Boy 25 added, "Glad you kicked her out, and I'm really glad your parents are on your side. It's so refreshing to read a story where the parents don't coddle the entitled child." Ravenwave commented, "Well, mom is, but dad sounds like he's still enabling the sister." Mia Boo Boo shared, "Honestly, you sound like a saint for putting up with Mia as long as you did. I could never. Using your baby's diaper bag as luggage? That's a whole new level of audacity. Glad you stood your ground. Hopefully, one day she realizes life isn't a beach trip with a free ride and endless laundry service." Am I the idiot for snooping through my wife's phone because her sudden affection made me paranoid? I've been with my wife for 10 years. She has never been an affectionate person, and I'm the opposite. I'm very tactile. I love hugging, kissing, cuddling, holding hands, touching her curves. I'm deeply attracted to her, and I've done my best to cope with minimal reciprocation. It's been an issue for the both of us. Nothing deal-breaking. We're just different kinds of people, and we've accepted that. We still love each other. A month ago, she was gone for a few days at a friend's bachelorette party out of state. I stayed with the kiddo at home. We talked each night before she went to bed. No worries. I've got my insecurities, having been in a prior relationship with a habitual cheater, but she's never done anything that gives me a reason not to trust her. Everything's good. We pick her up from the airport, and she goes on about how listening to the other participants of the party complain about their husbands, she feels lucky to have me, and it makes her appreciate me more. I'm over the moon. It's incredible to hear her say nice things about me to my face. I'm ecstatic. It feels great. Over the next few days, we have incredible intimacy, like maybe never before. She runs her hands through my hair as she walks past me in the house. She runs her hands over my body. She's never acted this way. I'm over here just getting washed away in the love, but at the same time, I'm curious. My insecurities get the best of me, and I check her phone while she sleeps one night. Several hours before she flew back home, she received a message in a group chat with one other partygoer, the bride-to-be, and my wife. The message was one of those text-on-image meme things. It said, "Married people with kids and careers find time to have affairs. Don't let a single person tell you they're too busy for you." My wife responded with a skull emoji, nothing else in the thread. So now I'm a little worried something happened. Am I being gaslit and love-bombed after an affair? Did she actually alter her perspective during her trip and is making a concerted effort to show appreciation? Am I overreacting? Now for a few comments. One commenter shared, "When my sister had an affair with her ex, I became extremely close to my husband and very cuddly and clingy. It's like knowing my sister was cheating. It could happen to me. Type panic. I feel like one of the girls is cheating. Everyone knows. It became a joke, and your partner became conscious that maybe they were giving you an opportunity. Or if that woman X who is cheating can cheat and have a perfect relationship, that you could do the same." Another commenter added, "You're bringing up a great point. When my wife found that one of her friends had stepped out on her longtime boyfriend and she shares a house with, My wife got super affectionate. She would tell me how happy she was with me and that she felt really grateful that she was with a guy like me. Now for the update 3 days later. I wasn't expecting so many comments the first time around. It was a good reminder of what a petri dish humans on the internet are. After going through everything, the majority of comments supported that my wife was being truthful with me. And like I said, I've never had a reason not to trust her. I appreciate everyone who had level-headed takes. It helped me remember how wonderful of a person my wife is and provided impetus for me to make the conscious decision to shut out my insecurities and truly trust her. It was entertaining to see the few trolls give their 2 cents, and a couple of bizarre DMs really spiced things up. We have had a couple of heart-to-heart conversations since my first post, and at this point, we're in the best place, maybe ever, of our relationship. Our communication has never been so transparent, honest, and empathetic. I brought up the meme, the group chat, etc., and because my wife is so comfortable and understanding, she wasn't upset. She didn't take offense because I was able to communicate that it stemmed from my own insecurities, nothing she did. She explained that during the trip, the other woman in the smaller group chat, not the engaged, sent the meme after talking shoot all weekend long about how she fricks around on her husband, she doesn't respect him, etc. My wife said Ashley was essentially fishing for validation of her shitty behavior from the other women at the bachelorette party the whole time they were there. At one point, Ashley stayed at the Airbnb by herself while everyone else went out to have fun. Later on, Ashley posted on social media as if she was at this particular venue with the rest of the party that was discussed and deemed suspicious by the other ladies. I should also clarify, my wife only knew the bride-to-be at this party. She did not know Ashley or anybody else until she met them on the trip. I say that because a few commented on the last post that even if it were someone else that cheated to everyone's knowledge at the party, it would be highly suspect for my wife to condone this behavior and be friends with this person. But Ashley is a stranger. Neither of us even know her husband. My wife's engaged friend doesn't even live in our state. Anyways, I've been completely open and honest with my wife since the last post. Well, except for the Reddit posts, we're doing incredibly well. I'm basking in all the wonderful affection I dreamed of for years. I'm just hoping this will last a long, long time. I'm glad I didn't do anything more stupid when I was overreacting. Now for a few more comments. One commenter said, "That's awesome. Sounds like your wife saw someone else playing with fire and is appreciating what she has now." I loved a comment on the previous post that said something to the effect that the grass is greener when you take care and water it, and the same is true for relationships. Another commenter added, "I'm glad I was wrong and you two are okay." To which the original poster replied, "Me too, buddy."